Welcome to Nomad Media, Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back, and as you can see, we're here again with the 1948 Dodge B1-D one-ton wrecker, and today I have David Freeman with me. David, he used to work for my granddad here at the shop, so it's absolutely an honor to be able to talk to you about this and everything. Like, I'm ecstatic to hear the stories and everything, which we've kind of discussed a little bit beforehand. But can you go on, like, let me just go on and hand it over to you, and tell me, what do you think about this truck, and like, just tell me some of the history up here at the shop.
Well, it's pretty amazing that you found it, and pretty amazing that it hadn't been cut up or butchered or whatever. It's still original. It's like a miracle in itself, and for you to be able to track it down and buy it like you've been telling me about is, I never would have believed it.
Yeah.
That it still existed and you found it. I had a lot of memories about it from working here for a year and a half or so when I was, I guess I was 18, and drove it some, run errands in it, and I guess tried to keep the battery charged.
Yeah, Pop, if he's not driving, like, you can't just have a car sitting around. It has to run. As I've been mentioning and talking a lot about, I'm pretty bullish on drive your cars, and it's one of those reasons is like, if you drive it, you ain't got to have a battery tender.
Right.
Yep. Tell me about some of your time up here at the shop, though. Like, what all did you get to do other than, just driving around for errands? Or what were some of the errands? Tell me that.
Oh, well, one of the things I was telling you earlier, summertime in here was miserable, and all we had was fans, and it was dusty and all. We had a big, I don't know, about a 20-gallon, I guess, wooden keg. I'd run over to Ice House every morning and get 10 pounds of ice, and we would fill it up with ice and water and just about drink it all in a day. But it was probably the best water I ever drank. But and I'd go around town, pick up parts or whatever, just run errands in it. Sometimes just like say, keep the battery charged and not let it sit all that much. When I was working here, Uncle Lamar had a guy named Adam Ackerman that was a mechanic, and he was a good one. He actually, I think he went to school with Aunt Dot. He was from Union, down by Martin Dam, and the guy could fix anything, and he was a comedian too. He could have made a living as a comedian. If he ever decided to quit mechanicing. But anyway, he was probably the best mechanic in Montgomery, in Dadeville, and he was real good on automatic transmissions. Everybody would bring him automatics, even, not only Mopar, but Chevrolet and Ford. And like I was telling you earlier, most of them cars had never been on a paved road, so one of my jobs was to get them about 2 inches of mud off of them so you could see them and pull them out of the car. But Adam, he was, like I say, a real good mechanic. He could fix anything. Back then he was the only one, and I was his helper. So he would paint cars. We'd wet down the floor and put a fan to pull the paint out, and he did a pretty good paint job, probably as good as anybody in Dadeville.
Old school way to do it right there, and considering we don't have a paint booth in here,
right,
to say they look good is a pretty good statement. There's a good testament to his skills, You mentioned that this was you worked here when you were 18. Like, how long ago was that? Like, if you don't mind me
60,
asking.
let's see, I came up here in 61.
61.
61. My folks got divorced and we lived in Montgomery, and me and two brothers and sister and mother moved back up here, kind of hit reset, and so I'd hang around up here and just have something to do, and then after a few days I'd help him out of them, just pilling around, and I guess after a week or so, Uncle Mark said, "You want a job?" I said, "I need one." So he put me to work, give me a job, which I needed pretty bad, which I never forgot that. But I guess I worked here from a year, maybe a little over a year, and then I went back to Montgomery.
Okay. There was something that came into my mind there that I wanted to bring up and ask you about. Oh, I don't know the validity of this because I haven't run it by you yet. But so cousin Charles, when I was getting this thing here the day before it was delivered, he had told me about you. All right, so I was mentioning earlier to you that I learned about you through cousin Charles, and I was like immediately I was like I need to talk to him, and he had told me that it wasn't maybe so this I got this Memorial Day of this year 2023, and so this was the Saturday before. He told me that you had actually asked about this truck like a few weeks or months back from that time, and it was so, you know, I don't know what the correct word
Weird.
serendipitous, like weird, yeah, strange. It's like, how does the truck come up in such a short time span from when I find it? But is that true? Like you were asking him about
Yeah,
it?
I did. I forgot where I saw him, but I hadn't been up here in a long time, and probably the last time that I had been up here was Uncle Lamar's funeral, and I didn't come in here, then. And I guess back in the late '80s, at somebody else's probably funeral, I came up and came in, and the truck was still sitting, where it always sat.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, that was probably late '80s. I didn't know Uncle Lamar had sold it. So I don't know, it's something I just thought about, and I asked Charles, something come up about him being here, and I said, is that record still there? And he said, and then he told me it had been sold back in. And that was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's wild because that was like weeks, maybe a month before I found it and let him know, which I was just letting everybody in the immediate family know, like, hey, I found the record. Like, I don't know if y'all know about it or not. Like, if you want to see it though, come on up. It's got Evers Motor on the door. It's not something I did. It's something that someone that worked with Pop or Pop himself did, because you can clearly tell it's hand painted and things. And it's just, I was just like, man.
Have some good paint too.
Yeah, yeah.
To last that long.
Yeah, really.
I can remember coming to Granddaddy Evers, which would be your great granddaddy. I was on a grandkid for about 6 years, I guess, and pretty well had it made with him. He'd carry me everywhere I went, and Mother and I lived there when Daddy was in the Marine Corps and World War II. So I pretty much thought he was my daddy for a long time because I didn't ever see Daddy.
Yeah.
And I guess I was born after he had enlisted in the Marine Corps. But anyway, he'd bring me to work with him. I'd come to work, and I'd have to run the shop, and I got into everything. But I pretty much could get into anything. Him, he didn't, But this it's pretty interesting. There's a black guy. His name was Roy Sanders, and he was the mechanic. He was the only employee. It was Granddaddy, Uncle Lamar, and Roy. and he lived across the highway up at Eagle Creek, and he'd drive Granddaddy to work every morning, and back and Granddaddy'd go home back to Eagle Creek at lunch. Then, some of the habits, or I guess this probably came from depression, but when he came to a hill, and he didn't miss any, he threw the car in neutral, turned the motor off, and coasted. Every hill. I mean, this is just like it was normal.
You got to save the gas.
Exactly. And when it all slowed down, almost stopped it, he threw it in gear, turn the ignition on, let the clutch out, and go.
Yep.
He never missed a hill. I mean, and you know how them roads are curvy.
Oh yeah.
Well, he'd go around, like Grand Prix. I mean, he wasn't gonna hit the brake. But that was I always remember that he was. It was like, that's what you do, but nobody else did it.
It's what you do, but nobody else does it.
Right.
It's what we do. It's what we do.
But anyway, he'd bring me, he'd bring me to work with him, and I'd run around, and also back then, first time I was probably 6 years old, maybe 7. I hadn't started school anyway, and he had Plymouth and DeSoto's, I guess, and Indian motorcycles. He sold Indian motorcycles. So it's the first time I'd ever seen a motorcycle.
I'm actually, so I've made jokes with people previously on this, and this is something I haven't discussed with you either. I've made jokes with people on this. I'm like, I bought this on Memorial Day of 2023. I bought my Charger on July 4th of 2021. And I'm like, so what DeSoto do I buy on Labor Day of 2025? Just so I have the trifecta there, But I joke about it, but I kind of not. You got a DeSoto? Hit me up. Or maybe even like a classic Indian. But I've had the motorcycle run-in. I'm in the have wrecked category on a motorcycle. So I'm kind of like, I've got expensive hobbies. I'd rather not kill myself on some of them or take that chance anymore. I'll still get on a motorcycle, not scared of them, just
scared of other people. That's the thing about it,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We still have over here, which for you guys, I'll put a picture here, but we still have an Indian motorcycle sign over here on the wall.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you saw it or not,
didn't.
which I'll show it to you after this, but so yeah, like I've seen that, and I've played with the idea of getting an Indian. So I've been looking around, just not very stringent on that one, but like I have been looking. So I keep my eyes open. If there's one that's a good deal or something, maybe I'll pick it up. And there you go. There's my trifecta for the shop.
One thing I was telling my brother Charles the other day about it. Granted, well, I don't know if you probably, anyway, where they lived in Eagle Creek, Granddad had, I don't know how many acres up there, but if they traded a car in or bought one or whatever that didn't run or was wrecked or whatever, well, they'd pull them up there and park them. There was some outbuildings, and there was an old blacksmith shop in the woods behind there. That it was full of old cars. Now, like Fords, Lasalle's, Cadillac, anything you could think of. There was probably 35, 40, I would guess, best remember. Anyway, he sold them all to a junk dealer, to get them out of there. I don't know how old I was. It was before he died. I think Granddaddy died in '54, so I was probably 7 or 8 or 9. But I always knew what cars was. I always been interested in them, and I'd watch them load them up and pull out a '32 Ford or a Cadillac or LaSalle, that he had traded in or junked or whatever. And just think of what they would be worth now would be.
Yeah, really. So that's one of those hindsight things there where it's like, as a car guy, for me, I kind of hate the fact that cars are so expensive now, but like I kind of get it. But then there's the resale market, so depending on what day you catch me on, whether or not I'm like, oh yeah, it's great, or no, it really sucks. Like, so I kind of flip flop a little bit. But you mentioned Lasalle's, so for me, that's one of those cars that I didn't know what that car was up until this year. Actually,
Oh, really?
I can date when I learned what a LaSalle was,
Uh-huh.
almost down to the day, not quite to the day, but it was in April. No, not April. It was May, March. Episode 1, whatever the date that is, and it was about a month before that. And I think it was March, actually. So I think it was March of this year. I know it's this year, though. Episode 1 on the YouTube channel, which we're doing here, is a Cadillac LaSalle.
Yes, sir.
It was the very first one. That was the first LaSalle I'd ever seen in my life. The Billy Howell, great guy. Like, he is still a really good friend of mine to this day. I still talk to him, stop in, talk to him and his wife all the time. But he was gracious enough to let me guinea pig his car for the YouTube stuff. But that was the first LaSalle I'd ever seen, and I'm like, that is a cool car. That is a really cool car. Gangster, it's got all the gangster vibes to it, that you see for someone my age, of course, that didn't grow up with them. It's like you get that gangster vibe, like, Tommy Gun, like Suicide Doors and all this stuff to it. So I'm like, that's interesting that you're saying you bring it up, and that was totally just natural. Like, that was the story. It was like LaSalle's. I'm like, well, wow. Like, I did not know what this car was even until this year.
I think some of them, I think, was V12s. I'm not sure. I know Cadillac had a V16 back, flathead V16, V12 back in the 30s, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway, working here, I remember the truck. I don't remember it ever being used that much as a wrecker. I'm sure they pulled some in, but especially with transmissions, that was a deal with like I said, with Adam. He was really good at transmissions, especially Chrysler products. But I remember the truck. I remember how hot it was here. How dusty it was, but that's the way it was then. I mean, I don't think even Uncle Lamar and them, I don't think they had air conditioning in the office up there. I don't think any of it was air conditioned.
Yeah, I don't think any of it ever has been air conditioner. So as far as I know, like, obviously I wasn't around in the 60s, but as far as I know, that office has not changed since, he's been here, and, it's open to that up there. There's a reason why that office in the backside is up there now, because they wanted AC. My dad and my uncle wanted AC. I can remember when I was a kid, like, even like all the way up until that thing was built, which that's not been there that long, like just 6-7 years, something like that.
I think your Uncle Phil said that they thought this building was built in 41. I think, and I don't know when Granddaddy moved in here. Probably, I don't know if he was the first tenant or not, but it's been here for 82 or 3 years. And I'm not sure when. I know. Like I say, when I come down here before I was started school, and that would have been in 48, 9. And they'd been here a while, so a long time ago.
Yeah, I've been told stories about the shop. That wall Pop put up, about how the landlord tried to raise the rent because he put walls up, meaning it was a more desirable place.
Right.
And Pop said, you're not doing that. Like, but Pop paid for all the lumber and everything. He tried to raise the rent on him. And it was but yeah, I remember Daddy actually used to sit out here, though, outside that shop, or outside that office, was trying to get to with the no AC. And so I don't think there ever was AC. The fans up there were put in by like early 2000s for them. And that was when they still had the open floor plan. So
yeah, it was open.
Yeah, it was really only heat. They had the 2 heaters, the one on the main beam and then the one over next to Uncle Phil's desk. And those are the only 2 things I remember being there.
They had, I used to, like I was telling you, come riding here from Granddaddy from Eagle Creek. He would make Roy to get, the mechanic would, me and Granddaddy sat in the car, and Roy would come in here and had stove here and up front, and Roy and pot belly stove, and he'd start the fires, and after it warmed up a little bit, me and Granddaddy would come in. We'd sit out there in a warm car.
Well, man, dude, that's thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I love the stories and everything, you know. Like, it's kind of what I do on this YouTube channel. I just collect this old stories that, you know, won't be around forever. So, and it's not every day that I get a chance to figure out. You said 1 year is how long you worked here roughly, so it's like 1 year in the 60s for this shop is still, that's a story, man. But is there anything maybe you like to tell anybody out there that may be watching?
No, it's just, yeah, I'm just glad to see that you found this truck. It's unbelievable. It's pretty much a miracle to find it, especially in the original condition, and it's like bring back a lot of old memories just seeing it. Congratulations on finding it and getting it. That's
yeah. Well, thank you, man.
my pleasure.
I definitely appreciate it. Anyone out there watching, if y'all are interested in the rest of the story on this, I'll have all the episodes linked in the description below. Be sure you check them out. Part 1 and Part 2, where I tracked it down and what I had to go through to find it, and what my cousin thinks on it as well, and his thoughts and everything. But with that, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
See you at the next car show, okay?
And there you have it, folks. Part 3 to the ongoing tale of the 1948 Dodge B1-D 1-ton wrecker. Be sure you like, share, subscribe. Check out all the other videos in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.